Hello lovelies, it's Bronte Spicer, how are you? My name is Bronte Spicer, I've already said that, and I'm the author of It's Okay to Cry, and I am the founder of Beyond Belief, which is a beautiful 6-month learning journey and process and program for you to let go of anxiety and depression. So today I want to talk about how the education system has played a part in your anxiety and depression, and also has really it's partly responsible for today's mental health crisis. So to start off with, I'd like to ask you some questions to see if you can relate to these. So let me know in the comments if you have, and just maybe put a yes if you are relating to any of these. So do you have trouble speaking up? Do you feel unheard or not heard? Do you feel undervalued? Do you feel like you're not seen or acknowledged or loved? Do you find it hard to make decisions? Do you listen to your own needs? Or do you have trouble listening to your own needs? Do you find it hard to look after yourself and prioritise yourself and put your needs first? Do you find it hard to say no to others? And are you having trouble with boundaries in your relationships? So if you can relate to that, then please let me know in the comments, and I'll start to share with you what insights I'm getting as a former teacher and now helping people with letting go of their anxiety and depression. And also I have my own personal experience of living with depression for 22 years. So I'm piecing what I'm seeing into something that I think is helpful for you to know so you can improve your own mental health. So I have some notes, and I wanted to share firstly, when I was at the Wangaratta Project 365 You Can Cry a few weeks ago, some incredible and astounding and horrifying statistics were shared about mental health, particularly in Australia. But the one that just stood out to me is suicide is the leading cause of death of Australians who are aged between 25 and 44. Suicide is the leading cause of death of Australians for people between 25 and 44. That just screamed alarm bells that something is completely wrong here. Something needs to change. This is huge. There was another statistic around in Australia, depression being by 2030, let me see if I can quickly find this for you. By 2030, depression is meant to be, like they're predicting, I really want to find this now. Where is it? Oh yeah, the World Health Organization estimates that depression will be the #1 health concern by 2030. So what I'm seeing is, and I'll share my experience of what it was like for me to not have a sense of self, and that was mixed in with those years when I was extremely depressed. There were days when I was disappointed that I had to wake up and just do it all over again. I didn't want to be here. So life was really bad. And in that time, I didn't know who I was. I couldn't work out what to do. I didn't know what thoughts to believe. I didn't know whether to listen to my mum or like listen to my thoughts. I had lots of it was just kind of an overwhelming sense of I don't know what thoughts to believe, and I didn't trust myself. I didn't feel like I had a strong sense of identity or preferences or what I enjoyed doing. I didn't know what my opinions were about things. I had no strong sense of self. And now that I am out of depression, I can recognize what that means. I now know what it means to have a strong sense of self. And so now what life is like for me now is that I know who I am. I'm really developing this capacity for me to be able to speak my opinions, to make my own decisions, to be clear in my decisions. Thanks for all the love hearts. I am connected to my body, which means I'm connected to myself. I'm comfortable in my skin. Of course, there are always those situations where I'm not comfortable, but I have the tools for that, and that's okay. So this sense of self, I have a strong sense of self, and what comes with that is a sense of aliveness. Like I just love being alive. I feel alive. I'm connected. I feel safe in who I am. I feel safe with the people around me. I feel safe in the world. But I've also experienced the opposite, where the world is not safe. I didn't even know how to access myself. I didn't know even who I was or what I was. So hopefully you can see the contrast of what it's like to have no sense of self versus what it is to have a sense of self. And then also we have the negative sense of self, which I shared in my last video last week around, we all have a negative sense of self. And what I see is that people who have anxiety and depression have a stronger connection with and identify more with that negative sense of self. And those people who have good mental health and not living with anxiety and depression, they have that negative sense of self in the background, or it's quite quiet, or they're not just overblown by it. So that's what I see as the difference. So let me share with you more about school. I'm a previous primary school teacher and special ed teacher. And some of you will have listened to my most recent podcast interview with Laurie Stone. She's an incredible woman who has built her own school based on connection first and building that sense of self first for mental health and just to enjoy life, and with academic results and learning outcomes second. If you I'll take you back to when I was studying at uni, teaching, we learnt that intrinsic motivation is that's more important to foster within a child when they're learning versus extrinsic motivation. And so this fosters that connection to self. So if we really want our children to, and if you think back to when you were a child, you have your own sense of, when you're connected to your own intrinsic motivation, you have a stronger sense of self. You're connected to your own choices. You're listening to your own needs. You're listening to your own emotions. You're trusting your own instincts. You're clearer on what your own opinion is and how your opinion and the way you see the world is different to other people. So that's what intrinsic motivation helps to do. It helps to foster that sense of self. Extrinsic motivation is when we are offering something like a reward or a competition, or at the moment in Victoria, I think is it Australia-wide? I'm not sure. School-wide positive behaviour supports. It's built on positive reinforcement or external rewards. So there's a lot of stickers, external prizes, basically, to help students behave in a certain way. So behaviourism is built on Skinner's work, and interestingly, I just recently learned from Alfie Kohn's work and his book, Punished by Rewards, that Skinner had a difficult relationship with his mum and didn't have a sense of self. And behaviourism doesn't include that human beings have a sense of self. So this sense of behaviourism that is used in schools is it's built on behaviorism. So the behaviour management system that's used in classrooms today, and when you were in a classroom, is built on this idea where your sense of self is excluded. And so let's just see it from the teacher's point of view, because the teachers are not bad, the school is not bad. Our classrooms are, in my opinion, there's too many children, there's too many students in the classroom, there are too many needs, there's not enough staff to support the individual needs of the student. So when I started teaching, I wanted to offer intrinsic motivation, but because of the level of the amount of learning outcomes that I needed my students to meet by the time it was time to do the reports, like to write my reports on each student, there was no time for me to foster their intrinsic motivation. And because time was so pressurized, and there just really wasn't even enough time for a child to be tired or to be sad or anything really, there was really no time for my students to have any kind of need outside of having the activity done. I needed them to get the activity done so I could write the report, so then I could tick off whether they achieved the learning outcome or not. So when you listen to Laurie Stone's interview this month, she'll talk about, and I've put it in my post as well recently because it's moved me and how I parent. So when there is a behaviour in a child that is undesirable, there'll either be it's like you need to look behind the behaviour for the need. So that sense of self, that person, that little person behind the behaviour has a need. And so what I'm seeing with the people that I'm working with, and also I can recognise it in my own experience, is that a lot of my own trauma came from not feeling like my needs were met, and feeling like it wasn't okay to cry, hence my book, and that there was something wrong with me because I was sad all the time, and lots of other stories around this. So we're basically left because, and I can recognise now that I haven't left enough time for this video, but I'll share what I can share in the next 6 or so minutes. Let's talk about the extrinsic motivation. So a teacher, it's really typical, like right now, today, and this happened when you were at school, right? Where you will be encouraged to finish an activity so you get a reward. So what happens in that process is, and I also need to talk about how the teacher, your teacher or your child's teacher, is the caregiver. So human beings cannot survive without caregivers. So our children, you as a child, either had your parent or a caregiver, and your teacher is an example of a caregiver. So we need, in order to survive on a primal level, a connection and an attachment with our caregivers. So in the classroom, the teacher is the caregiver. So when the teacher offers something like, well, if you don't do this, then this will happen. So there's a consequence, which is another word for a punishment, which is where something is being taken away, or perhaps it's something bad happens. So maybe you're given a minor or a major that could be going to talk to the principal or something like that. Or maybe you get detention, or maybe you had to stay in or something like that. We've all had those experiences, and we've all made meaning about ourselves about those experiences. So in Beyond Belief, what we do is we process and integrate and heal those memories and those beliefs that we have about ourselves and the world. So what happens is when the teacher has asked you to do a thing and there's either a consequence or a reward, what's happened, and even if, let's just say that you're sad in that moment because you miss your mum, in order to keep that connection and attachment with the teacher, you are abandoning your own self and your own needs to complete the thing, the activity that the teacher has set for you, so you maintain that sense of attachment, which offers that sense of security, safety and survival. So if you are somebody who is experiencing not being able to speak up, not feeling heard or seen, not being able to make decisions, not really knowing how to connect with yourself, not knowing not being able to listen to your own needs, not looking after yourself, like I'm talking actually caring for, tending to, putting yourself to bed early and looking after your nervous system and, meeting those needs that you have, listening to your own emotions, creating space for yourself, saying no to others, having healthy boundaries, asking for what you need. They are all a result of a disconnection to self. And so if you think about a child spending 5 hours a day in an environment where there is no time or space for that child to connect with themselves and trust their instincts and know who they are and know how to connect with and manage their own emotions for 6 hours a day, 5 days a week, 40 weeks of the year, 13 years, for 13 years. Is that right? Year 12? Yeah, 13 years. I know for me, when I finished school, I had no idea who I was, what I was doing. And I'm looking back and just considering that amount of time spent abandoning myself so I achieve X, Y, Z for the teacher and either get a punishment or a reward, that has absolutely had an impact on my connection with my sense of self, and that has impacted my mental health. Because when we are connected to ourselves, we know who we are, we know how to manage our thoughts and feelings, we know how to find joy, we are clear in our minds, we know how to make decisions. We can feel safe we can feel safe to share our opinions. We feel safe for other people to have different opinions. So there's that level of intelligence through communication and connection. So none of that is fostered for a significant portion of your life and of our children's lives. So that's just the start of the conversation. Let's continue this. For those of you who are in this situation, I want you to know that you can heal these moments, you can integrate these experiences, you can let go of anxiety and depression. You don't have to hold on to the pain and the trauma of having your nose up on the classroom, the blackboard, or being put in the corner, or being shut down in class, or not feeling heard. All of those can be healed, and I do want to remind you that there is no enemy here. This is just a natural evolution of pressure. The teachers aren't bad, the schools aren't bad, but the structure of the system is what needs changing. And so this is why I'm highlighting schools like Woodline Primary that have a better staff student ratio, have lots of space for autonomy, choice, outdoor play, play-based learning, connection to emotions in their bodies, and listening, holding space for needs. So much. Like, I just love this. There's so much more here to share. So much. I could keep going, but I need to go. I can see lots of comments. I'm so happy. Awesome. I'm very happy to read about Montague Bay Primary. That's good. That's what we need. We need more models of how we can do this differently, and it's already happening, which is amazing. And for you guys who are struggling with your mental health, if you are experiencing depression and anxiety, this all can be healed. If this is something that you would like support with, then message me and we'll organise a clarity call. And a clarity call is a chance for me to ask you questions to see where you're at and what you're struggling with. And if I think it's appropriate, then I can talk more about my program Beyond Belief, which helps you to learn a body-based approach, which is a different approach to like talk therapy or talking to someone. It's a body-based approach to improve your mental health, so you can let go of anxiety and depression because you don't have to live with it forever. Thank you so much for joining me. I am so passionate about this. Can't wait for the next podcast episode to come out. And I will come and do more on this. I could talk about dissociation. I didn't talk about that. There's a lot more to talk about, but I can do that another day. Thank you for joining me. Take care, and I'll see you soon.